Hello there, interwebs. I am the Bechtloff, and this is, of course, my podcast. And, I went on that guy with the glasses, the other day. I actually had a response to one of the, videos I saw on there. But I had not been on that site in a while, probably close to a year. I sometimes check out Nostalgia Critic sometimes, but I usually do it on the YouTube channel they got. But it was interesting to see some fresh faces over at that guy with the glasses. New talent, which I'd said for a while they needed to do. One of them is SF Debris. Arini turned me on to this guy. He's got some really awesome reviews of Star Trek and other science fiction. A lot of Star Trek on there I've watched so far. I've only recently got into his stuff, so I haven't watched too much of it yet. Mostly just the Star Trek reviews. But a lot of other things, science fiction movies, cartoons. He's got like Justice League reviews and so good stuff on there, from what I've seen so far. And I thought it was cool that he was on there, but at the same time, I'm almost surprised he went on there. He's probably too good for that site. He's probably way too good for that site. Another fresh face I saw on there was Rentasmo from a show called Needs More Gay, which is just, it's, from what I've seen so far of him, and I haven't seen much, it's typical SJW crap. The review, or the video I just watched was talking about the trope of, the transphobic trope of, in movies, especially comedy movies, there's always a thing where it's like the guy's gonna nail this hot chick, but when he gets her in bed, he finds out she has a dick, she's secretly a dude, or he finds out afterwards that she's post-op, that kind of stuff. And he's usually disgusted by it because heterosexual men are by nature disgusted by having sex with another male. That's what makes them heterosexual. But he thought, that makes me just transphobic. It was horse shit. I did a video response to it before, but it's horse shit. It looks like Channel Awesome still has the typical problem of being too SJW'd. The fact that we bring this Rentasmo guy on, and like this is the new talent you're bringing on, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know all the new talent they got on there. Maybe they are turning around a bit. SF Debris is certainly not. Well, I don't really know his politics, but he's very fair in how he presents stuff. He's not your movie Bob or your Lindsay Ellis, where there's my side of it and everyone else who's an evil misogynist. But it got me thinking. I don't know who runs that guy with the glasses anymore. I heard somebody bought it off Doug and they're actually running it. They actually own it, whatever. I don't know. I will say though, based on like the little bits you hear here and there from like former employees, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I almost wish we could get like a really good tell-all book or some shit about it. Because, God forgive me, the gossip aspect of it would interest me a bit. But anyways, it occurs to me that what's probably going to finish a site like this, especially in the wake of the Gamergate shit, when people really want, when nerd culture has had enough of this one-sided shit, and we really want everyone's voice to be able to be heard. That guy with the glasses would never bring on a conservative, alternative right or libertarian type guy to do this shit. I really doubt they would. And again, I don't know all the new talent on there. Maybe they have. But I really doubt they would. But if they did, it would probably be a big shot in the arm to them. I think if they brought somebody on like Jordan Owen, somebody, especially, he wouldn't want to do it because he's already uncomfortable with the amount of talent of attention he has. But it's a perfect example. If they brought on Internet Aristocrat, they would have such a shot in the arm to their site that they would be boosting their numbers like they wouldn't believe. But they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it because the Lindsay Ellis on that site would have no part of it. Even though Internet Aristocrat could probably bring in more views than her, they'd cave to the squeaky wheel getting the grease on that. And it's sad. it's sad. I don't think there's a very bright future for that guy with the glasses, and it's sad to see that kind of mismanagement because there was really something special there. Speaking of that twat, Lindsay Ellis, I saw an interesting tweet of hers the other day, and I think I'll link to it down below. Let me bring it up real quick. Let's see. I know I bookmarked it just for this podcast. Here we go. From yesterday, October 11th. I wonder if there will ever again come a time when women in tech, online, and new media don't live in fear of being next. And I guess she's referring to like the death threats or some shit like that. Which of course males in these they never get death threats. Fuck, I'm still small time. I've received death threats. It's just the way it is. And good old camera lady responding to her under it. Well, I don't. Because it's bullshit. It's bullshit. You're hiding behind a victim mentality. And you know what? Here's the iron. Not only are they wrong, not only do women not have it bad in geekdom, arguably they have it too fucking good. Now, oh, holy shit, is that just... That's the quote right there that could be taken out of context. But there is a certain easy mode to them right there, in a lot of respects. And I know that being a woman in geek media no doubt has its own unique challenges. I'm not disputing that. But there's certainly a bit of an easy. I'll give you a good example. I discovered this girl from the Gamergate stuff. I discovered her on Twitter, and I checked out her YouTube channel. And I don't want to disparage her because she seems a perfectly nice woman. She's anti-Gamergate, so she's at least not one of those soulless SJWs. Her name is, I don't know exactly how you're supposed to pronounce this, but go on YouTube, look up JAY3. Oh shit, what the hell is it? Jade Fox, yeah, it's Jade Fox. JAY3. Let me double check, make sure I'm getting this right. Yeah, JAYD3FOX. That's her handle. I have no idea how that's intended to be pronounced, but just want to make sure it's, we all got that right. Okay, now, I checked out her channel on YouTube. And, again, not to disparage the girl, really. I'll look it up right now just to take a look at some stuff right now. Sure, she's perfectly nice. Sure, she's put out good content and shit like that. Oh, wonderful. Half the videos that are on the page immediately are like her showing off her tits. That's half of them right there. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. And they are very nice tits. This is a very cute Asian girl. And she's got very big tits for an Asian girl. Credit where credit's due there. Good for you, sweetheart. I mean, a lot of Asian girls are sitting right on the itty bitty titty committee, but not this one. She won the genetic lottery right there. But I mean, she's got like videos on like outfits of the day and shit like that, and she's just like, and this is supposed to be a gaming channel, and she's got some commentary on here, and I'm sure it's all just wonderful. Good for you, sweetheart. I'm not disparaging her. I'm not shitting on anybody who's a fan of her. And I'm not trying to pick a fight with her and nothing like that. Good for you, hon. Glad you're doing it. More power to you. They are indeed quite lovely. My point, though, is, and this is something I've seen guys talk about in the political arena. Again, I don't want to say what she is and is not saying because I haven't checked out her channel enough. But she could be saying nothing that guys like Internet Aristocrat or Mundane Matt or Jordan Owen or Rini or even myself wouldn't be saying better and still have many more views than most of those guys. For the simple fact that, hey, she's hot. She's a hot girl. And Lindsay Ellis is a very attractive girl, although I'm seeing a couple of signs in her that maybe she's coming up on that wall pretty soon. Gonna hit the wall here, but no, Lindsay Ellis is position is exactly because, well, as I like to say, there's two reasons Miss Ellis has her job and they're right in front of her. Now, again, nothing wrong with it. But don't claim fucking victim status. Don't claim that you have it so fucking rough, alright? Anita Sarkeesian could have never raised that kind of dough. Could have never been getting all that ducats to do basically jack shit if she wasn't a woman. Couldn't have happened. Jonathan McIntosh, the puppet master behind her, he can't do it without her. He couldn't raise that much ducats himself. There is a certain easy mode to it. I'm sorry. I guarantee you, if my exact same blog had been written by a woman, if I'd have just, if I'd have thrown up a picture of an ex-girlfriend up there as my biopic, and it had been written by a woman, probably have 10 times the fucking hits. Matt Forney, a buddy of mine, he did a fake blog, like, where it was like where there was this diary of a red pill woman or something. I don't even remember the exact name. But he did that for a few months and was already getting more hits than his normal stuff. And Matt Forney gets a ton of fucking hits. Matt Forney makes a living doing this shit. And he was already doing better. There's a certain easy mode to it. I'm sorry. And the fact that, if you say obnoxious or even just controversial shit, some people will tell you to go to hell or say they hope you die or I'm going to kill you, and they're fucking not. The death threats just happen on the internet. Whether they should or not is beside the point that they do. Okay, we don't live in should land. But yeah, there's a certain easy mode to it. I hate to break this to you. It's just like that. If you're young, cute, and female, you're gonna go to the front of the line here. So quit acting like you're in the back. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of hearing, what's your home line? That's the thing about these SJWs and feminists in particular. They're masters of being a certain privileged class while at the same time acting like they're oppressed. I mean, Anita Sarkeesian has managed to have mainstream and geek media outlets shield her from all criticism and act as though she is inherently above it. And at the same time, she acts like she's oppressed. It's almost like I often compare these SJWs to the religious right. I say like they're like just a secular left version of that. And the religious right was masters of that back in their heyday too, acting like they're this oppressed minority because obviously we Christians love to call martyr even when we're not being martyred, but while at the same time wielding a tremendous amount of power. I mean, back in the 80s and shit, they were big shit. They were a force to be reckoned with. James Dobson is a name you probably don't know unless you are a Christian or a politics junkie, but he was a major kingmaker in the Republican Party for a long time. These guys wield tremendous amounts of power while pretending they were helpless. And they still do, though their power has waned. And the social justice warriors are the same way in that regard. I'm going to pretend like I'm helpless while I'm in charge. It's so frustrating to deal with because it's one of those shifting things where you can't. How do you attack that? You can't attack positions that are so fluid. It's like trying to nail Jello to a tree. By the way, little tangent I thought of on the nothing shows the wanting to be martyred without really being martyred thing that goes on in Christian circles more than the Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays shit. I mean, I hate PC bullshit as much as the next person. And yeah, I would prefer places generally to say Merry Christmas when when it's Christmas. But, I mean, there's places in the world where Christians get their throats slit just for being Christians. And there's Christians in this country that want to complain about what the Walmart greeter says to them. Yeah, getting on a tangent there. So yeah, I hate to break it to you, Lindsay, but you had it on easy mode. As much as you want to complain, it's so hard and woe is me. Shut the fuck up, bitch. Alright, you are where you are because of your gender. Alright? You're capable of producing good content. That's actually the frustrating thing about you. When you're not 3 feet up your own SJW ass, you can actually produce some decent content. But don't act like you're the fucking victim. You know, don't sit there with your tits out and wearing pigtails and lecture me about the patriarchy. Don't. Okay, just don't, sweetie. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm the victim. The only reason you were chosen for this role over some of the other girls that were in the running is because you're cuter, alright? So maybe you need to check some privilege. Okay, sweetheart? Alright, moving on. I was asked by a couple of fans, and I intend to do a larger, like a full podcast on this topic coming up, but I intend to do it with a friend, the guy who co-owns that little comic shop I have at the indoor flea market on Saturdays, my buddy Chase. I intend to do this with him because it's going to be a more in-depth topic if there's two of us. You know, we basically agree on this subject, but we obviously come at it from two different angles. And that subject is the DC Comics reboot of the last few years. And why it is a fucking disaster. And I'm just going to go through some of the reasons real quick. Again, we'll do a full topic on this later. Reason number one is everything is Image Comics-ized, for lack of a better term. And by Image Comics, I'm referring specifically to that flavor of comics of early 90s Image Comics. Early Image Comics. Not Image Comics Now. Image Comics Now is basically just almost a boutique. I mean, there's great stuff going on in Image the last few years. A series like Bomb Queen, I really enjoyed, although the joke kind of run thin on that a little bit. Invincible by Robert Kirkman, really good. I'm not a fan of it, but obviously a lot of people like the Walking Dead comic. Godland was really good for a while. Just some really good stuff in Image, but early Image is dog shit. I'm talking about Youngblood, Wildcats, Spawn, that kind of crap. Spawn was probably the best of the bunch, and I give it a C- at best. Savage Dragon was also pretty interesting. It was never really for me. I can't say I was ever a fan of it, but there's no denying there's a certain amount of heart to it. And God bless Eric Larson for having stuck with it for so long. It really is his baby. I mean, he said before that, he'll publish Savage Dragon comics for as long as they'll allow him to. And I respect and admire that level of real heart put into a creator-owned project, because that's what Image Comics was originally supposed to be. These artists got together and said, we want to make our own stuff that we have control over. But really what they wanted to do was fart out crap and then sell out as quickly as possible. Larson being the exception in that regard. I mean, these people all left the books as soon as they could. It got other people to work on it so they could just be cashing a check. McFarlane being the worst example of that kind of laziness. But Jim Lee, one of the Image guys, is probably the single most major creative force behind all this reboot stuff. And it shows, because so many of these books, aside from the fact that Jim Lee has taken some of his characters from Image and shoehorned them into the DCU. Which, by the way, that part I don't actually mind. I don't necessarily mind that, like, Wildstorm characters, like Gen 13 characters, or Grifter, as stupid as he is, got shoehorned in the DC Universe. I mean, that's fine. There's a part of me that almost says the more characters in the shared universe, the better. Because that means the more types of stories we can tell. And DC, this is not the first time DC's done that. Crisis on Infinite Earths back in the 80s took all of DC's alternate worlds and kind of forced them into one. And by doing so, they actually took characters they had bought from other failing companies and put them into the comic. Like, a good example is the Charleston Comics characters. Like Blue Beetle, the Question, the Captain Atom. They put them in the regular universe. Years later, they would do that with the Milestone characters. The only one anyone ever remembers being Static Shock. They put them in the regular DC universe. So I'm not opposed to that. The more characters you have running around, and I realize you could say, oh, it gets confusing for people. It doesn't really. You don't have to know every single character running around the Marvel or DC universe to enjoy a book. And a good writer, when they put a character in, guest starring in a book, or when they put a character somewhere, they tell you about it. They tell you what you need to know. You know, it might pose a certain unique challenge to the writer to have these more characters, but at the same time, it gives more opportunity. Again, there's more stories that can be told that way. But when I say the Image comicsizing, I mean there's a certain level of style over substance. Costumes have been redesigned to the point of being over-designed. You know, I mean, it's not quite, you know, belts on the thigh like in the 90s kind of stupidity. But what the fuck does Superman need armor for? He's motherfucking Superman. All the characters are assholes, too. You read, like, the Justice League arc, the first Justice League arc of the DC 52, New 52. Every character in that book is a fucking asshole, except Batman, oddly enough. The one that's supposed to be an asshole. And part of me thinks that Justice League isn't that bad. It would just be okay if it was, like, an alternate world, not the main world. Like, if this was taking place on Earth 17, and it was Justice League All-Stars or something, it's called something like that. Because it reads almost like an Ultimate book, too. Image comicsizing aside. It reads to me like an attempt at Marvel early 2000s Ultimate line kind of style of storytelling. Which, again, would be fine if that was a side thing. What made the Ultimate Universe so refreshing was it was a separate universe. You know, the Ultimates were different than the Avengers. It took place in a different universe. So the fact that they were all kind of dicks was just a refreshing alternate take. It wasn't that we had made the main universe that way. The other big problem with the New 52 is just a complete lack of continuity. And a certain level of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. When DC's last major reboot, there had been tweaks to continuity since, but DC's last major reboot was Crisis on Infinite Earths, which again was where they combined the alternate Earths into one. You know, getting rid of redundant characters. You didn't have more than one Superman running around, but you had characters like now Captain Marvel was in the regular universe, and now Blue Beetle was in the regular universe, and now, you know, the Golden Age Green Lantern, which is a very different Green Lantern than the Silver Age one, are in the same universe, Hal Jordan and Alan Scott, respectively. So there was a certain element, and you can argue how good it was, but there was a certain element of trying to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, we just want to streamline things. We want to trim the fat, but we want to keep what's good. We want to bring in new people without alienating the old people. And you can argue on how well Crisis on Infinite Earths succeeded with that. I mean, the most obvious failure, I think, is they butt-fucked Wonder Woman's continuity really badly after that. And especially, like, ancillary characters like Wonder Girl just got completely hosed over. Which they did find a kind of fix after Infinite Crisis back in 2006. But again, and after Crisis on Infinite Earths, there was real editorial control over what is the shape of this new status quo. What stories still counted? What did and did not happen? What is the nature of this? There was none of that in New 52. Nobody had any fucking idea what did and didn't count, what did and didn't happen, what the nature of this new quote-unquote status quo is. Nobody had any fucking idea, okay? Did the death of Superman happen? Huh? Did it? Some would say no, and some would say that it happened differently. In Swamp Thing #1, New 52 book, we indicate Superman had been dead at some point. In Hawk and Dove #1, New 52 book at the beginning, we allude to Crisis on Infinite Earths having happened. But nowhere else are we even going to... in Batman #1, New 52, Batman Volume 2 #1, we show... Might have been Detective, but I'm pretty sure it's Batman. We show that Tim Drake had indeed been a Robin. He's Red Robin now currently. But then recently we said, no, that wasn't true. There's also the madness of we're operating on it's been 5 years since superheroes started popping up, and yet somehow Batman has this 10-year-old son with Ra's al Ghul's daughter. How the fuck that works? And maybe they've tried to explain that. I don't know. I can't say I've read that much New 52 stuff since I pop in and out. Again, I sell a lot of it to people, so I mean I try to keep somewhat abreast of it, but it's just a fucking mess. The continuity is all over the fucking place. And two other problems um, is they got rid of Martian Manhunter out of the Justice League. They replaced him with Cyborg, as Cyborg is now a founding member. Now this butt fucks both the Justice League and the Teen Titans, because Martian Manhunter is the heart and soul of the Justice League and always has been. When you show me a picture of Superman, I think Superman. You show me a picture of the Flash, I think Flash. When you show me a picture of Martian Manhunter, I think Justice League. And similarly, with Teen Titans, when you show me a picture of Robin, I think Batman and Robin, or I think Robin. You show me a picture of Arsenal or Speedy was his original name. I think Green Arrow or just the character himself. You show me a picture of Cyborg, I think Teen Titans. They were heart and soul of the team. So to put Cyborg in the Justice League doesn't work. I mean, he could be a member of the Justice League, but as a founding member and remove him from Teen Titans history doesn't work. Removing Martian Manhunter doesn't work. Martian Manhunter needs the Justice League as a character because it was all he ever had. He's the last survivor of his race on an alien world. Now I get Superman is like that too, but Superman was born and raised as a human. So while he knows of his heritage, he, at least on some emotional level, he thinks of himself as one of us. Martian Manhunter doesn't. He came to Earth as an adult. This is all very foreign to him. Pardon me. But the Justice League provided him a place where he belonged because he was with similar people that didn't fit in. Similar, unique, and odd people. He was the heart and soul of the team. To remove him from the Justice League is to remove its heart and soul. And therein lies the great part of it. New 52 misses the heart and soul of things. And I'll give you another good example. The recent story arc Forever Evil. Pardon me. Had to clear my throat there. Forever Evil featured the New 52 first appearance of the Crime Syndicate. Now, the Crime Syndicate, for those of you that don't know, is an alternate universe version of the Justice League where they're all asshole supervillains. Instead of Superman, you have Ultraman. Instead of Batman, you have Owlman. And they're basically supervillains that have taken over their world. Now, the original Silver Age, before Crisis on Infinite Earths, the original Silver Age version of Crime Syndicate was kind of stupid, in my opinion. The Crime Syndicate really got cool after Crisis on Infinite Earths. They were introduced in the Antimatter universe, which is kind of the flip side mirror version of the DC universe. And it was this kind of... Well, it was the mirror universe from Star Trek, but with DC. And we got to see their world a lot. And we got to see this interesting kind of moral system to it, where this world is run on kind of a like a favor bank system, basically, almost like mafia-style morality. And that's the thing. To have a civilization, there's got to be a moral structure, right? There has to be. There has to be rules, or there's no game. You know what I mean? There has to be rules to the civilization. Now, fast forward to this rebooted thing, and we see this new version of Crime Syndicate World, and everyone's just an asshole. That's all it is. Everyone's just complete amoral shitbag. Like you see the Krypton in that universe exploding, sending Ultraman to Earth as a baby. And like, rather than, basically everyone's pushing and shoving to try and get on the fucking rockets and shit. And while there's a somewhat amusing thing of, here's Krypton, here's this, famous, like, upright and moral and evolved civilization, but here's a version of it where they're all shitbag assholes. And there's something amusing about that, but at the same time it misses the point. Law of the Jungle doesn't get you out of the jungle. So the idea that this alternate world is just pure social Darwinism, that doesn't work. Because how are their roads? How are their buildings? How are the lights on? Who's fucking running that shit? Who's showing up to work to keep the trains running on time? There's no ought in that world. There can't be a moral system without an ought. There's an actual morality system in the pre-crisis, on the pre-New 52 Crime Syndicate world, of, again, the favor bank, the honor amongst thieves kind of thing. The mafia. Now, that might produce a very, very brutal and harsh civilization, but that can still produce a civilization. Law of the Jungle doesn't get you out of the jungle. So the only way that kind of universe would have made any sense is if everybody was just beating each other with rocks. But then you wouldn't have Alban, you wouldn't have all the technological, Batman style, rich business guy doing stuff kind of thing. You wouldn't have any kind of tech. And that is a perfect example of how all substance, no style. We miss the heart and soul. All right? We miss the point of what made the original stories powerful in this new reboot. That's the biggest problem with New 52. I mean, I'm unhappy with a lot of the continuity changes, but that ain't the biggest problem. The biggest problem is it's just not good. It just doesn't have the same heart and soul that the original did. That's the problem. I don't know if New 52 is ever going to go away while Dan Didio's in charge. Dan Didio, the editor-in-chief, has basically bet his career on this. I don't think he'll ever go back. And it's sad. I mean, I was always more of a Marvel fan, but right before the New 52 reboot, a few years before it, I was reading more DC than ever. DC had never been better in my lifetime. Stories like Blackest Night were just fantastic. What Jeff Jones in general had done to the Green Lantern franchise over his run was just amazing. Introducing the different color lanterns. It was just fantastic. Books like Power Girl. They finally made Power Girl more than just a character. It's ever since Crisis on Infinite Earths, Power Girl was nothing more than a joke. Because she was the Supergirl of Earth 2, who they kept around because she just had an interesting character design. But the problem is there was already a Supergirl kind of thing, and so they came up with all kinds of bullshit explanations for her, like she's from Atlantis or something, and it never worked. But then after Infinite Crisis, we just said, no, she is indeed the Supergirl of a dead universe. Cool. So it actually added something to her, because not only is she like Supergirl, one of the last survivors of her race, but she's indeed one of the last survivors of a whole universe. And the Power Girl series that Amanda Conner did the artwork for, and then later other artists did, was just fantastic. That was one of the best series DC had done in a long time. Just other stuff I was really enjoying from them. And then it's just all gone. And it's such a shame. And it's such a shame. And I mean, DC is surviving basically entirely off of, I believe, speculators buying, new number ones and 3D covers. And just the poor long-time DC fans who just don't want to give it up. New 52 is just balls. It really is. Alright, moving along, another thing I wanted to talk about was Pac-Man. Good old Pac-Man. I think it's really cool Pac-Man's going to be in the new Smash Brothers game. Which is, I think, that's already out on the 3DS, if I believe, but it's not out on the Wii U yet. And I don't have a 3DS, and frankly, I would have probably want to wait it for the Wii U version anyways. But yeah, he's going to be a playable character in that. Hopefully I don't have to play a buttload of hours just to unlock him. What was it, on Brawl? You had to play like fucking 40 hours of story mode no one cared about just to get Sonic. Thanks for putting Sonic in there and burying him under a mountain of shit. But yeah, this is going to have Mario, obviously, and all the Nintendo characters. But also, interestingly enough, you're going to have Mega Man, Capcom character, Pac-Man, Namcom character, and Sonic, Sega character. So it's almost like you got the four, so at least four of, if not the four biggest companies of the cartridge arcade era, and their mascot characters all facing off. That's really cool. So it kind of got me thinking about Pac-Man a little bit here recently, and I wanted to check out, are there any cool Pac-Man games out here recently? Because, why the hell not? He's a little mascot-like character. I'm surely there's got to be some platformers out there with him and shit. So I checked out, I haven't bought it yet. I kind of want to, but I checked out the reviews and gameplay for Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. And this is based off, there's apparently a new Pac-Man cartoon out, which I well, good for Namco for at least doing something with a character, but I've never seen this cartoon. But I checked out the reviews, and the reviews are ridiculously harsh. This game sucks balls, and this game is a mediocre piece of shit. But I'm looking at the gameplay, I'm like, this doesn't look really bad at all. You're Pac-Man, you're running around in this kind of 3D platformy world. You're eating ghosts, you're eating power pellets. You get power-ups where you like have ice powers or fire powers or whatnot. So I mean, it's elements from like Mario games, 3D platformers, and like from there's like a homing attack kind of thing like in Sonic. So I mean, it seems like it's taken some really cool elements from past platformers. It didn't seem like anything really special, but it seemed like a decent platformer. And as I'm watching the gameplay, I thought the same thing, but people were just like, "Oh, it's so generic." So I'm like, it just seems like a decent platformer. Nothing special, but probably fun. And the game's only like $40 new, so I mean, you can't say it's overpriced. I mean, hell, Destiny costs what, 70, 60, something like that, and that's apparently nothing more than a really, really, really pretty, game that's just generic FPS and MMO crap all through it. At least Namco has the decency to not charge you too much on it. And it's probably certainly better than Pac-Man 2 on the Sega Genesis. I don't know if you ever played that, but holy shit, is that a clusterfuck. It's like a 3D kind of almost RPG with Pac-Man and all, but you don't actually control Pac-Man. You have to like shoot slingshots at him and shit to get him to do what he wants. Like he just does what he wants, and what he wants to do apparently is die, because he's just trying in vain to get him to not wander face first into danger, and he wanders face first into danger. But Pac-Man Ghost Adventure seems fun. I'll probably check it out. But it kind of got me thinking, like, what would I do differently if I was in charge of this franchise? Which is an admittedly unlikely scenario. First of all, and I realize this is probably because it's based on the cartoon, but Pac-Man's like 10 years old in this game for some reason. I don't, he's like a kid. Yeah, fuck that. Don't make him a kid, make him an adult. I remember like the box art for my Pac-Man game in the 90s, like on the NES that I had. Like he had like a little like fedora type hat. It was like he looked like he was going to work in the 60s. Like he had that kind of hat, you know what I mean? And he should have had like a briefcase with it, maybe wearing a tie or something somehow. But I always saw Pac-Man as an adult character. So I would make him an adult. I mean, he's got a wife and kids, I mean, it was Pac-Man Jr. back in the day. I would make like the 3D environments almost more trippy, and more maze-like. Like not just platforming, but kind of restore the maze element to it. Because that's what Pac-Man originally was. It wasn't about a character. There wasn't really a character. It was just a high-speed maze game, that you played in a bar. So you can have a 3D platformer with some story elements, a mascot type game, a Mario Sonic type game, but you could still nod to the original roots of the franchise. I mean, I would do the power-ups. I would try to be a little bit more creative about them. Some of them are cool. Like there's a metal like magnet type character one. I don't think the game is bad, and it looks like it's not given enough credit. But I would maybe just try and get it a little bit more classic. Because I'm a big fan of those types of games. I'm a big fan of like the platformer, the side scroller, and just those types of games just had a certain element of creativity and fun to me. Obviously, Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures doesn't appear to be extremely creative, but still, I mean, games like Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario games and like Zelda games, it was just such a creativity to that stuff that just a lot of AAA game developers, I'm just not seeing it from them anymore. I mean, if quote unquote Destiny was the game that they were putting out, I mean, it seems like it's just designed to sucker you into having to get the online package, and here's more DLC coming and all that kind of shit. Yeah, the graphics look amazing, but big fucking deal. Fucking Destiny. Everything I hear about Destiny, I'm like, I'm so glad I went with a Wii U and not a PS4 or something like that. Because my Wii U has been nothing but fun. Mario Kart 8 has just been amazing. Super Mario 3D World was really good. Looking over here, just a bunch of great games, man. Hyrule Warriors is really fun. And I'd never played Dynasty Warriors, so that was an interesting experience for me. But yeah, those games have a certain charm to them that Destiny is never going to have. I mean, these types of games are like Michael Bay type games to me. I got no real interest in them. But maybe that's just me. Well, that's about all I got this week. Thanks for listening, folks. Bechtloff out.